In the previous episode, well, nothing really happened, other than our boy got the location of the secret realm he's been looking for, and a wave of free experience coming his way. As we continue the story, the Shadow Mage raised her staff high, sending a beam of golden light shooting up into the sky. It exploded and then formed a giant golden ring that expanded outward. However, it didn't take long for it to cover the entire army of dragons and demons. And then, whoosh! In the next second, they found themselves plummeting from the sky. "What's going on? What just happened?" The panicked cries filled the air, but among them, a few sharp ones realized they were hit by a powerful anti-flight spell. Soon they began to fall like raindrops. Meanwhile, on the ground below, the skeleton army was already in position, ready for them. Captain Jiang gulped, watching the terrifying legion of skeletons in front of him. These skeletons looked both scary and tough. In fact, he was starting to think that Lin and his skeletons could probably steamroll straight to the center part of the top layer without breaking a sweat. That thought reminded him of the recent news about 2 world bosses being taken down. Could it be, it's all Lin's work? Everyone's eyes were glued to Lin. Calm as ever, he didn't even blink at the sight of the falling army. To him, it was just another day of getting gatekept by the insane amount of experience required to level up. Either way, the guys were starting to feel a little useless just standing there. Meanwhile, Alice had also lost her ability to fly, but having learned from their last encounter, she wasn't caught off guard this time. She quickly pulled out a black crystal, and the moment she held it in her hand, she regained the ability to fly. With a swift flap of her wings, she shot back into the sky. Unfortunately for the rest of her demon buddies, they weren't so lucky. The Shadow Mage pointed out, "Looks like the succubus is using a high-tier item to counter her spell." Lin just nodded, not particularly concerned. He glanced at Alice, though. She had escaped from him a few times now. This time, she's not getting away again. By now, most of the demons and dragons had already hit the ground, and Lin's skeletons didn't waste a second. They started hurling corpses right back at them mid-fall. With no hesitation, Lin triggered Corpse Explosion. At this point, it wasn't even a battle anymore. It was a full-on massacre. Boom! Boom! Explosion after an explosion shook the ground, and in the next moment, everyone's badges lit up. To their amazement, a flood of military merits poured in, and within seconds, their ranks shot up. They couldn't believe it. Just like that, they'd all earned another star. Captain Jiang, however, noticed something even more shocking. His lieutenant badge had disappeared, replaced by a gleaming golden colonel's badge. He clenched the badge tightly, feeling a mix of joy and deep gratitude. Lin could have easily wiped out these demons and dragons on his own, but he let them all join his legion, sharing the spoils. The look in everyone's eyes as they glanced at Lin changed. Lin is a true legion commander. He was the kind of leader they'd follow to the ends of the world. Lin calmly layered on another coat of skeletal armor, then strode across the blazing, abyssal fire. There were still plenty of enemies left, and the anti-flight spell was about to end. So right now, he needed to do something about them. And his plan was simple: cripple their ability to fly and let the skeleton soldiers handle the rest. The first target? Their wings. Up in the sky, Alice hadn't run away. Instead, she hovered above, watching everything unfold with a smile, completely unfazed by the slaughter of her fellow demons and the dragons. Her lips curled into a sly grin as she murmured, "It's almost time." She clutched her crystal again, and in the next moment, the image of the succubus queen appeared once more. The queen questioned if everything was ready, and Alice nodded, replying that 228 high-level demons over level 60. So far, 161 are dead, and most of the dragons are gone too. The succubus queen eyed the carnage below, a little surprised, since she didn't expect the dragons to join the party. But no matter, their bloodline will be useful. In the next instant, the queen extended a single finger, pointing downward. Then the abyssal fire roared to life, flaring violently. Lin, sensing something was off, stopped in his tracks. What the hell is happening now? Captain Jiang's gut twisted. "Oh no!" he yelled, quickly casting a group protection spell. The abyssal fire raged like it had gone berserk, thick flames blinding everyone. He knew what this meant. If the fire was acting up like this, it could only mean one thing: a top-tier demon was making a move. He glanced back at his team. "Fall back now," he ordered. One of the guys hesitated, asking what about Captain Jiang. Jiang clenched his teeth. He had to stay. As long as he held this protective spell, his team could make it out. But he'd be stuck here. He could buy them time, but what about Lin? Before he could finish that thought, a skeletal armor materialized over him, and not just him, but everyone. Seeing them confused, Mo Yun quickly explained, "It's Lin's defense spell. As long as they have it, they don't have to worry about the abyssal fire." Zhang blinked in surprise. Meanwhile, Lin tells everyone that the succubus queen's real target is him. The realization hits Zhang like a ton of bricks. Even the succubus queen is after him? Just what kind of enemy is the guy fighting? Isn't he level 30? Just then, the abyssal fire changed again, swirling into a vortex. "This isn't good," Mo Yun shouted. "The succubus queen is summoning an abyssal fire spirit." Then the flames whipped up the corpses littering the battlefield, sucking their energy into the vortex. Zhang cursed under his breath. It wasn't just random magic. This was a secret technique of the abyss. By sacrificing a massive number of lives, the fire could summon a fire spirit from the abyss. Its strength depended on the power and quantity of the sacrificed lives, but one thing was certain. It would be a very powerful demon. Lin couldn't help but feel a bit curious. "So, you're saying this thing could be stronger than the Red Moon demon?" Mo Yun hesitated, but she wasn't exactly sure. Then the seductive voice of the succubus queen echoed from the sky, hoping Lin would enjoy the little gift she had prepared for him. She then followed up saying that if Lin managed to survive this time, she'd be more than happy to invite him to her palace for a more personal reception. Just as her voice faded, the abyssal fire shifted once more. Out of the flames emerged a towering humanoid demon, its entire body cloaked in purple fire. Lin's detection skill immediately kicked in, revealing the creature's stats. A level 58 abyssal fire spirit, boasting a whopping 400,000 total attributes. To make matters worse, it had 3 skills, was immune to fire, and, just for fun, took 50% less damage from curses and physical attacks. The abyssal fire spirit let out a deafening roar, and suddenly, a magical array formed around them, trapping everyone inside. It felt all too familiar, just like the time they were up against the Red Moon demon. Captain Zhang's heart sank. This enemy was way beyond anything their team had ever faced. Lin tells everyone to get back. The next second, the demon launched its attack, crashing into Lin's skeletal warriors with a resounding boom. Upon impact, dozens of skeletons were sent flying like ragdolls. Meanwhile, all of them, including Mo Yun, were retreating to the edge. They knew full well this wasn't a fight they could survive. Without hesitation, the demon activated its first skill, Burning Aura. A relentless damage over time debuff spread across the entire array. Everyone's skeletal armor flickered from the damage. Captain Zhang gulped. If not for Lin's armor, they wouldn't last a minute in here. Then came the next move, lava eruption. The ground beneath them shattered, spewing molten lava that instantly wiped out 5 of the skeletal warriors. Lin hadn't made a move yet. His expression was as calm as ever. Turned out, he was simply curious. Just how strong was this demon? But as the damage kept piling up, forcing him to constantly reapply skeletal armor to everyone, since there was nothing interesting about the demon, perhaps it's time to wrap it up. But before that, it was time to test out that new skill he'd gotten from the primordial rune. With a flick of his wrist, Lin activated Mighty Soldiers, boosting not only all of his stats, but also his summons by 200% for the next 30 seconds. On top of that, their damage would increase by a whopping 500%. In the next second, every skeleton began to glow with a haunting blue light, on top of being amplified by the undead general's buffs. Lin pointed casually at the demon and ordered, 30 seconds, take him down. The skeletal warriors raised their swords, activating their rampage strikes. In just one round of attacks, the demon was already reeling, its health plummeting. It winced in pain as the skeletal mages unleashed their spells, draining even more of its health. The demon couldn't believe it. How could a human be this strong? Without a second thought, it turned to flee. But Lin wasn't about to let that happen. Massive red shackles shot out, wrapping tightly around the demon and locking it in place. That brief moment of slowed movement was all the skeletons needed to land their final strike. The system notified Lin defeated Abyssal Fire Spirit, reward, Flame Gem. Even Lin was a little surprised. It really only took a few seconds to finish it off. The rest of the group was absolutely dumbfounded, jaws practically hitting the ground. This was a fire spirit summoned from the corpses of hundreds of demons and dragons, and it got one-shotted? Alice's face paled with fear. Lin just kept getting stronger and stronger, especially now with the power of the primordial rune fused inside him. The Earth Dragon God couldn't kill him, the Red Moon Demon couldn't kill him, and now even the Abyssal Fire Spirit was no match. He was a monster. She had to escape, but just as Alice was about to flee, Mo Yun came charging in on her unicorn, eyes burning with rage. She knew that Alice was behind all the chaos these past few days. Alice's heart pounded. She knew Mo Yun also had an anti-flight skill. If she got grounded now, she was as good as dead. But Mo Yun's unicorn was too fast, closing the distance quickly. Alice's mind raced, and with a desperate move, she crushed the crystal in her palm. In an instant, a portal opened in front of her, and Alice dove through it. But she got herself in the typical step bro am stuck situation before disappearing in a blink of an eye. Mo Yun pulled up short, looking very frustrated. Meanwhile, the fiery magic array had vanished, but Alice had escaped once again. Flying back, visibly irritated, she muttered, "I can't believe she got away again." Lin, however, just nodded calmly. There'll be another chance. In the distance, people began to appear, waves of professionals rushing toward them. Lin knew it was time to move on. He didn't want to stick around. His next destination? The Divinity Secret Realm. As for these guys, he'd leave them to Captain Jiang and his team. Without a word, Lin and Mo Yun quietly made their exit. Captain Jiang and his squad watched them leave. Everything that just happened felt like a dream. Perhaps they might have just witnessed the birth of a divine-tier powerhouse. Once they snapped out of their daze, the squad quickly steeled themselves. "We can't let anyone disturb Lin." They quickly walked up and intercepted the incoming crowd. Meanwhile, Lin and Mo Yun, following Captain Jiang's directions, soon arrived at the entrance to the secret realm. The entrance didn't look any different from a dungeon. Taking a deep breath, the two of them stepped inside together.